Recognizing that our students from low-income communities often face a significant achievement gap, one of the best things that we as educators and therapists, clinicians can do is to promote early literacy. So what is literacy? The capacity to construct and express meaning through writing, reading, and talking about texts. Language used in reading in school is different, though, from the language used in informal daily conversations. So we have our basic interpersonal communication skills that we call BICS, the day-to-day language needed to interact in society and socially. We also have cognitive academic language proficiency. This is the language needed for school success, which requires cognitively demanding language skills such as comparing and classifying, analyzing, and really understanding the content material in a deep way. So we want to constantly be building and preparing our students for the demands of that cognitive academic language and go beyond just the basic interpersonal communication skills. And at different levels, that can start very young. So we want to promote the academic language that supports literacy and learning from the get-go, from the first time we're introducing books. And one way to do that is to just make the experience of reading a book optimal. We want to increase those pre-literacy skills. So knowing that reading actually promotes decontextualized language and expands vocabularies, having positive book reading experiences is a great way to start expanding a student's cognitive academic language. Through reading, we can promote a sense of story, grammar, enhance vocabulary, and develop students' phonological awareness skills, those great foundational building blocks towards becoming literate. But what the research tells us is it's not enough just to hand a parent a book and say, read with your child. Sure, it's a good start, and families need the resources, especially in low-income communities. But the research tells us we need to go a step further. Parents need direct instruction in best literacy practices. So something that we put into place in our school was to actually create short videos or DVDs to demonstrate strategies for making shared reading a really positive, wonderful learning experience. The benefit to doing the recording was not all families could make it to school for example, a coffee talk with the principal or an educator, but by posting these videos either on YouTube or handing out discs depending on the access that your families in your community have, we were able to ensure that all families had access to these strategies. So we actually would pick a strategy a month. It was a short 5-minute video and really walk a family through what we would do in that reading experience so that they had the skills to use that strategy with their child at home. Another benefit is you can then record these videos in multiple languages to ensure access for everyone in your community. So we did a video on reading comprehension, fluency, phonological awareness, print awareness, and had wonderful gains in our students' literacy rates simply by the fact that they were having this positive reading experience with their family. So some of the things that we really had to focus on with our families, and I encourage you to do this too, whether you're providing early intervention in the home and speak directly with families, or if you're school-age provider or teacher and don't get as much face time with families, we do want to just give tips and tricks to families. So encourage the adults, whether it's grandma, uncle, brother, to become active listeners, not just to read the story to the child, but to ask them questions and learn from what the student, how their family member is responding. They can also add information. So when you're reading about a certain topic, they can make those text-to-self connections that we encourage our students to make, but have them model that for your student, their family member. And really encourage them to describe and use language that expands the child's vocabulary in whatever language they choose. We want to teach families the importance of children having multiple opportunities to talk and engage in conversation, that making that connection that through conversation, students are actually learning, that there's value in the dialogue. Many students from low-income communities have not had the same access to preschool or even younger educational type settings. And so something to consider is that when you start working with young children, it can't be assumed that they know how to participate and listen to a whole story, or how to engage with the text. And so all of those things are things we want to directly teach. We may be the first person to expect a child to sit through an entire story. So you can't make an assumption that simply because the child perhaps gets distracted halfway through, that has to do with their attention. Perhaps we're the first one asking them to sit through a 20-minute read aloud. So it's really important to think about what are the accommodations and modifications you will make. Think about things that we can do as educators to make the story more engaging, or pause frequently to ensure that we can ask questions or allow students to ask clarifying questions about the story as well. Perhaps with young students, you want to have them act out part of the story, or bring in puppets to engage and make connections with the characters. There's many things we can do to help build a positive experience around literacy for students who may not have had the same exposure throughout their early years of life.